heaven and hell. Two eternal enemies, they say, angels with their shining wings, demons with their dripping claws. One promises paradise, the other promises fire. One demands purity, the other tempts with indulgence. And for as long as anyone can remember, they've been at war. But you did something no one thought possible. You just made them agree. Imagine that for a moment, heaven and hell, staring across the battlefield, swords and pitchforks raised, only to pause, to lower their weapons, to look at you, to look at the one thing they both fear, the one thing they cannot own, cannot bend, cannot claim. You. Do you understand the weight of that? To make light and darkness bow, not out of love, not out of loyalty, but out of recognition. Because you've stepped beyond them. You've become something that doesn't fit their little game. That's the part they don't tell you. Both heaven and hell want the same thing. Obedience. Heaven wants your submission through sacrifice. Hell wants your surrender through indulgence. Different costumes, same script. They want you weak, predictable, tied to their rules. But when you refuse, when you carve your own path, that's when both sides stop fighting each other just to watch you. And the funniest part, they hate each other, but they respect you. Heaven whispers, he's dangerous. Hell growls, he's untouchable. And for the first time in eternity, they nod at each other because you've broken free. BRO. This isn't religion. This isn't fantasy. This is life. Every day you're told to pick a side. Be good, be bad, be holy, be sinful. And every choice you make keeps you chained to their system. But step outside. Stop playing their game. Build yourself so sharp, so disciplined, so unpredictable that even angels and demons can't define you. That's when you terrify them both. You don't belong to heaven. You don't belong to hell. You just made them agree for the first time, and the agreement is this: you are no longer theirs. They love their sides, don't they? Heaven on the left, hell on the right, white robes here, fire and brimstone there. They paint the lines so neatly, so beautifully, so convincingly that you never stop to ask the question who drew them and why. They whisper, choose heaven, be pure, be disciplined, obey. Or they hiss, choose hell, indulge, consume, rebuild. Different costumes, same circus, because what do both sides demand? Your obedience, your sacrifice, your allegiance. The moment you pick one, you've already lost. That's the trick no one tells you. Picking a side feels powerful, like you belong to something bigger. But belonging is a leash. It means you've signed away your freedom, your thought, your fire. Heaven demands you kneel to virtue. Hell demands you kneel to desire. And kneeling is kneeling, no matter which altar you do it at. Look around you. Men wasting their entire lives fighting battles that aren't even theirs. Crusaders for heaven, slaves to purity. Rebels for hell, slaves to chaos. Different chants, same chains. They bleed for symbols, for flags, for angels or demons, thinking they're warriors when they're just pawns. But you don't need to play that game. The real power isn't in choosing a side. The real power is in stepping outside the lines, refusing the cage, refusing the script. Walking above the battlefield while both armies scream your name, trying to drag you down into their mud. Do you know what terrifies them? The man who doesn't choose. The man who belongs to no banner, no hymn, no slogan. Because if you can't be categorized, you can't be controlled. You're not their soldier. You're not their servant. You're something else, something untouchable. So let them fight. Let heaven scream, sit out. Let hell hiss, coward, smile. Walk through the fire untouched, because both sides only exist to trap you. And when you refuse to choose, when you live by your own design, that's when you make heaven and hell agree for the first time. Agree that you're dangerous. Do you know what terrifies them most? BRO. Not your sins, not your prayers, not your failures, not even your victories. What terrifies them is when you refuse to fit. When you walk off their little stage, tear up the script, and smile while the whole crowd gasps. Think about it. Heaven survives on categories: saint, sinner, obedient, damned. Hell does the same: rebel, wretch, indulgent, lost. Both sides need you to be something they can label, because once you're labeled, you're predictable. And once you're predictable, you're controllable. But what happens when you refuse the costume? When you say, I'm not your saint, and I'm not your sinner, I'm not your rebel, and I'm not your slave. I am mine. Suddenly they don't know what to do with you. Angels don't know whether to guard you or strike you down. Demons don't know whether to tempt you or flee. You become undefinable. And here's the twisted beauty of it. People are the same. Society worships categories: introvert, extrovert, good, bad, loyal, selfish, weak, strong. They need to put you in a box so they can decide how to treat you. But the second you refuse the box, the second you blur the lines, they start to panic because they can't predict you anymore. And unpredictability is the closest thing to divinity a man can taste. That's when the whispers start. What is he? Is he dangerous? Is he safe? Is he holy? Is he wicked? They can't tell. And that uncertainty is power, because the one they can't define is the one they can't control. BRO, that's the real secret. Heaven doesn't fear sinners. It knows exactly where to place them. Hell doesn't fear saints. They're already accounted for. What both realms fear is the man who doesn't kneel to either. The man who burns his own path. The man who looks into their eyes and says, I don't need your side. I am my own. When you stop being definable, you stop being prey. You become something else, something untouchable. And for the first time in eternity, heaven and hell stop fighting just to watch you.
Discipline, desire, heaven, hell.
2 words, 2 prisons, 2 flavors of chains. One burns cold, the other burns hot. One tells you to starve, the other tells you to gorge. And both laugh while you dance between them. Heaven whispers, resist, obey. Deny yourself, sacrifice. And men crumble under weight of perfection, punishing themselves for being human. Hell whispers, indulge, consume. Take everything now. And men rot from the inside, slaves to appetites they mistook for freedom. 2 extremes, 2 traps, 2 games designed to keep you begging for permission. But here's the truth: a man who only obeys discipline is not strong. He's a dog on a short leash. A man who only obeys desire is not free. He's a pig at the trough. Neither is power, neither is mastery. Both are addictions dressed up as identity. The real spell is control, not submission to heaven's cold fire, not drowning in hell's poison, but standing above them both, holding the leash of each impulse, using them when you choose. Imagine this: the discipline to starve yourself when it sharpens you, and the freedom to indulge when it serves you. Imagine fasting like a monk one day, feasting like a king the next, and not being owned by either. That, my friend, is untouchable. Because they fear the man who doesn't need permission to switch. Heaven wants a servant, hell wants a slave. But you want mastery, and mastery terrifies them both. A man who can command his own hunger, who can deny or devour at will, is no longer human in their eyes. He's unpredictable, dangerous. He doesn't serve guilt, and he doesn't serve greed. He serves himself. And when you reach that balance, when you hold fire in one hand and poison in the other, drinking from neither unless you choose, that's when even heaven and hell pause. That's when they stop arguing, stop scheming, stop pulling, and for the first time they agree. You're not theirs anymore. Morality, what a pretty little leash. They drape it around your neck and call it virtue. They polish it, paint it gold, and whisper, be good, be righteous, be obedient, and like a faithful dog you wear it. Heaven pats your head when you obey, hell smirks when you rebel. But either way, you're still on a leash. See, heaven wants you bound by commandments. 10 rules, 1,000 rules, whatever keeps you trembling under their gaze. Hell wants you to spit on those rules, to indulge, to rebel. Yet even in rebellion, you're still reacting to the chains. You're still trapped in the game of morality they designed. And you, poor soul, thought you were free because you chose the right side. But choosing is the trap. Picking heaven's virtue or hell's indulgence doesn't matter. Both paths are written by hands that aren't yours. And if you're still following their script, tell me, whose life are you really living? Here's the truth they fear you'll see. Morality is not universal. It's not eternal. It's not written in fire. It's a tool to herd the masses, to guide sheep through fields they didn't choose. But you, if you dare, you can break the leash, you can build your own code. Not heaven's, not hell's, yours. Imagine that kind of man. He doesn't bow to commandments, and he doesn't dance to chaos. He lives by principles carved from his own scars, his own victories, his own blood. He knows what he stands for because he chose it, not because it was handed down from angels or whispered by demons. and oh, how they'll hate him. Heaven calls him dangerous. Hell calls him untouchable, because a man with his own law is ungovernable. He can't be bribed with paradise. He can't be threatened with fire. He belongs to no one. BRO. When you craft your own morality, you step outside their war. And in that moment, for the first time, heaven and hell agree. They agree you are not theirs. They agree you are beyond them. And that agreement, that's power. Transformation. Not the cute kind they sell you in workshops. Not the shallow kind where you slap a new label on your old scars. I mean real transformation. The kind that burns you alive and leaves nothing but bone and will behind. The kind that makes heaven frown and hell hiss because suddenly you're not theirs anymore. You see, both sides love categories, hallow or horns, saint or sinner, good boy or monster. They love their little filing cabinets where they can tuck you neatly away. But transformation, real transformation, it destroys the cabinets, it tears up the labels. It leaves them whispering in confusion. What is he now? And that's exactly the point. You've lived your whole life being one or the other. Obedient or defiant, pure or corrupted. But those are cages, decorated, gilded cages. True power doesn't come from choosing one side over the other. True power comes from refusing the question altogether. From saying, I am not holy, I am not damned, I am something you cannot define. That's freedom, that's evolution. You want to terrify both angels and demons. Don't stay who you are. Don't even stay who they think you should be. Kill that self, tear it apart. Build something unrecognizable, not heaven's servant, not hell's toy. Something else, something without a name. Because once you do that, once you step out of their little game, you stop playing by their rules. You're no longer a pawn on the board. You're the hand that flips the board over. Transformation beyond duality is not about balance, it's about betrayal. Betray your past self. Betray their expectations. Betray the very idea that you must be defined by their language. You're not a saint. You're not a sinner. You're the storm that drowns both churches and cathedrals. And in that storm you are free. And here we are, the last act. The curtain sways, the crowd holds its breath, and all the masks come off. Heaven in one corner, hell in the other, eternal enemies. Right? Angels sharpening their halos, demons polishing their horns. They've fought since the beginning of time. Light against dark, order against chaos, purity against poison. They live to destroy each other. And yet, for the very first time, they stop, they pause, they look at you, and suddenly they agree. Why? Because you no longer belong to either. Heaven respects your discipline, the iron will that starves temptation. Hell respects your chaos, the refusal to kneel, the audacity to indulge without shame. You've taken the best of both worlds and bled out their weakness. You starve when you choose. You feast when you choose. You obey nothing but your own law. And that terrifies them. Because what do you call a man who cannot be tempted by comfort or crushed by pain? What do you call someone who carries both order and chaos in his fists and bows to neither master? Heaven calls you dangerous. Hell calls you untouchable. And for the first time in eternity, they nod in unison. BRO, you've done what no priest, no devil, no saint, no sinner ever managed. You've made heaven and hell shut up. You've made them kneel to the same truth that you've stepped outside their game. You're not holy. You're not damned. You are something they cannot name. And nameless things, oh, they're the ones that rewrite history. So what now? Do you beg for a throne in heaven? Do you crave a crown in hell? No. You don't need their stages anymore. You build your own. You don't play their music anymore. You compose your own. The war between light and dark rages on, but you walk right through the battlefield untouched. Because when you master yourself, when you burn every leash, when you laugh at both cages, there's nothing left for them to fight over. That is the final punchline. That is the spell that silences angels and devils alike. Not obedience, not rebellion. Mastery. So when they whisper, what is he? Let them choke on the silence. When they mutter, he belongs nowhere. Let them tremble. Because BRO, when heaven and hell agree on one thing, it's this: you're beyond them. You're free. And freedom, that's the only kingdom worth ruling.